G'day there guys, Marky here, and welcome back to another episode of r/relationship advice. I do hope you enjoy today's stories. Now sit back, relax, chuck a prawn to the Barbie, and let's get right into it. Posted by user Anonymous Stories, titled, I ignored my husband so much that he went away without telling me. I, Carla 30, am 6 months pregnant with mine and my husband's, Harry 31, first child. During this pregnancy, I've been very exhausted every day and would usually come home from work and go to bed an hour later. Then I'd wake up at midnight and reheat what Harry had made for us for dinner. For context, I've been a part of a huge work project that's been going on for months, and I've been extremely overworked. On top of this, my husband doesn't have a job at this moment and isn't looking for one unless I remind him. I've been working overtime to get as much money as I can before maternity leave. Our anniversary was on the 6th of August, and I'd asked him if we could have a romantic dinner at home and then snuggle up to watch TV under a warm blanket. I thought it was a wonderful idea since I was too tired to go out, and because I knew that Harry was doing most, if not all, of the household chores. However, he seemed a little annoyed when he agreed, but I thought nothing of it. The next morning, Harry seemed quite cold towards me and barely looked me in the eyes. Once I got home from work, he wasn't there, but that was normal since he could have been out with friends or at an interview, and so I went to sleep. I woke up at 11 that night to see that I was still alone in the house, so I checked my phone. I had about 8 missed calls from Harry and a long text. I'm summarizing, but the text read, I understand how tired you are because of this pregnancy and you having to work extra hours most days, but I'm over being ignored every day and having a 5-minute conversation with you every so often. You expect me to do all the housework and plan our boring anniversary alone. I'm really annoyed, so I'm staying at a friend's tonight. Text me when you see this. Of course, I called him and texted him about being sorry and wanting to talk, but I never got an answer. In the morning, I called my boss about having a day off and spent most of it waiting for Harry and planning my apology. However, when he came home, he silently handed me a rose and a card saying that he loves me but needs a few days away from me to figure out what he's going to say and do. Then, those days became a week. This part happened on the 13th, 8 days later. I messaged him every day, and he would constantly say that he needed one more day, or just another night at his friend's to figure this all out. But on the 13th, I decided to go to the friend's home that he was staying at to confront him. So I drove over, nearly 30 minutes away, and banged on the door so hard that I could hear it echo from inside. By this point, I'd realized that I should have put more effort into our relationship, but he also should have talked to me about this instead of running away. Harry's friend came to the door and was confused but pleased to see me. He seemed a little on edge as I talked to him, and he had to break the silence every so often with comments about my pregnancy and how he couldn't wait to meet the baby. Finally, we stopped talking, and I practically demanded to see Harry, saying that I wanted to apologize, but also explain how childish he was being by hiding from me. The thing that I found absolutely hilarious, but actually not at all, was that his friend said that Harry wasn't there and had left for Ireland on the 9th. Ireland! To say that I was absolutely beyond furious and extremely confused would be such an understatement. His friend invited me in and sat me down to talk. Turns out that Harry had told his friend of our problems and had come up with the solution of going on a holiday as a couple to sort everything out and learn to love each other again, in Harry's words. So, of course, his friend thought that it was a lovely idea and helped him to book the flight on the evening of the 5th, the first time he had stayed at his friend's house. Since it was a last-minute booking, Harry's friend had stayed with him for quite a while before they found a flight who was taking a few more passengers due to cancelled tickets. His friend then explained how he'd been confused when I arrived at the door, but didn't want to say anything about the holiday in case it had ended early due to us arguing. Harry's return ticket is booked for the 20th of August. I am just so angry and quite heartbroken, to be completely honest. I messaged him the moment his friend had finished talking, and Harry only responded an hour ago with nothing more than a, had to figure things out, sorry. So now I'm home alone again, and trying to figure out what I'm going to do and say when he gets home. Anyway, thanks for reading about how my life is going. Side note, I'm from the UK, so Ireland isn't as far as people think it is since I'm not American, but it still is so far. Other side note, a question that keeps repeating is, where did he get the money from without you noticing? So I'll leave my explanation from the comments here. He has a bank account with his money from when he worked as a teenager and a little into his 20s before we met. And a few years ago, we agreed not to touch that money and add to it every so often. It was a backup savings account. So I'm assuming that he took the money from there since it wasn't from the joint account. In the comments, Witch on a Moped says, "This is a very extreme way to handle being upset by your tired, overworked, pregnant wife. Has he tried talking to you before this? I'm wondering if he's using this as an excuse to leave. 2 tickets, a wife that doesn't pay attention, an affair would be easy." OP replies, "I feel awful for ignoring him, but also because I can't answer your question. If he has tried, then either I couldn't tell that it was a serious conversation, or that maybe he was trying to be polite, and so he never truly conveyed what he wanted to me. I would wait at the gate for him, although he now knows you know, so he'll probably change his arrival date so you won't catch him cheating. He's gaslighting you to feel awful for ignoring him. You were pregnant and overworking yourself at the cost of your health. You are going to have 1 baby. Please dump the one already in your life. Get a lawyer." Martian T says, "You didn't ignore him. You're the only one with a job and exhausted from being pregnant. I did the same thing for over a month and would have continued because I had no other choice. I was so effing exhausted that by quitting time, my hubs had to practically force feed me. Some weekends I took 2 naps. He never complained. There is so much better out there for you. This man was supposed to love and support you in sickness and health. He is so goddamn selfish. I'm wishing you and baby all the best and hope many blessings are coming your way." Aussie Jean says, "Am I missing something? So you, at 6 months pregnant, are busting your ass working long hours to save for maternity leave and support your unemployed, unmotivated husband. You were so exhausted you fall asleep an hour after you get home from exhaustion, not from wanting to ignore him from what you said. In response, he takes money from the savings account you both contributed to and goes on a holiday to Ireland. And you're the one expected to apologize to him. You are the one that deserves an apology here." Back up to the post, there is another edit. "I've had a little time to think. Here is another note, 6 hours later. I knew this post would get attention, but I assumed it would only be a little. I've never used Reddit before, but I've seen it on TikTok a few times, so I thought that posts only became popular on there, and maybe this would get as popular as my Am I the Arsehole post. Not very. I was upset when I posted this, and didn't think about how I would handle all the judgments and conspiracies once I'd calmed down. I appreciate the hard truths, empathy, and/or advice given to me, but I am not divorcing him, changing the locks, calling a lawyer, or anything like that." Small update. It's the 17th now. I've had a longer think. I'm not deciding anything until our talk, but I definitely won't be staying in my home with him after this. I can't trust him not to run away again. I'll talk more about this on my actual update, but I've gained some self-respect and realized he's being an asshole. I talked to my mum, and she's happy for me to move in with her on the 21st, and I'm free to stay for as long as I need to. So I'm going to post an update to just clear the air when I can. Hopefully the day or day after Harry is home, 20th or 21st, and then delete this all a day or 2 later, or I'll forget to. Update. I want to start this out by saying that a lot of questions have been answered since Harry came home yesterday evening, the main one being that he did use the second ticket, but for his sister. For the last few days, Harry's friend has been living with me and helping me through this. One way was that he scheduled a couples and individual counselor for Harry and I. I've also been calling my mum every day since the 13th, and with the one counseling session, Harry's friend and my mum all giving me the same advice, I scheduled an early maternity leave with a slight bonus to each paycheck because of all of my overtime and unpaid help. I officially leave work in 4 days. Back to yesterday, Harry's friend went to pick Harry up and sent me photos of who he was with as reassurance that it was his sister, Tiff, not her real name. When they arrived, I'd prepared dinner and cleaned downstairs of our home so that we could have a civilized conversation without hunger or distractions to stop us. Harry looked extremely tired, and he seemed to be on the verge of crying the moment I opened the door to them all. I was incredibly patient for the sole reason of being able to get through this discussion in one piece. And so when Harry wouldn't speak, I let Tiff explain why she had gone with him. Tiff is a lovely lady who helped me through the months before my pregnancy. However, Harry didn't stay in close contact with her, and I lost touch when the work project started. Because of this, she had no clue about anything going on until Harry called her and said that he had a spare ticket to Ireland. At first, she was reluctant since she knew that I was pregnant, and so she tried to ask why he would leave, and if I was with someone who could take care of me. Eventually, Harry snapped and told her the real reason of why he was going, and so she joined him to make sure that he knew that it was wrong, but also help him through all the emotions that he was feeling. She was the reason that Harry came back to me. If she hadn't gone with him, then Harry admitted that he might have moved to central London or a small village in the countryside to hide from this. It took everything in me not to cry when she admitted that, and I could clearly see the shame on Harry's face. I'm not going to recite everything word for word, and so I'll quickly clear up some things. 1. Harry did use the backup savings account like I thought to pay for the tickets. 2. The reason that Harry's friend didn't see who the other ticket was for was because once they had found the tickets, Harry's friend went to bed. 3. Tiff was by Harry's side the entire holiday in Ireland and confirmed without a doubt that this wasn't to find a fling. They spent most of the days in the cheapest hotel room possible in silence before Harry started talking about everything. 4. When we met and married, Harry was a loving, hard-working, job-having man whose only dream was to have a wonderful family, and then to retire to one of those cute stone villages in the south of England. After an hour, Harry finally spoke up. Tiff and Harry's friend went into the living room, but I never realized how strange it would feel to be with Harry again. He confessed that he had stopped loving me a month into my pregnancy. It wasn't to do with the fact that I was sick all the time, dirty as a mole, or wouldn't stop talking about the baby. He just didn't have a reason. Since he couldn't think of why he stopped loving me, he assumed that the love would come back in no time, and that maybe it was some delusion caused by the stress of a baby on the way. Over time, that love didn't come back, and he started feeling incredibly guilty and alone in it all, which is when he got fired from his job. He told me it was because his work performance was belittled by new management, but it was really because he was too trapped in his feelings to think of anything but how much he still didn't love me. Then, he never tried to get a job, because sitting at home without me, since I had to work more, was much better than sitting at work and possibly getting fired again. He came to love how he had time alone until the moment that he felt alone. That was when he refused to work, just so that he wouldn't have to see me. He wanted to sit and wait and see how long it would be before I came to him. The trip was to test the waters. It was to see if life would be better without me. He still hasn't decided. In his whole explanation, he kept emphasizing how he didn't love me and said it was like a child who needed to hear something 1,000 times just to understand it. He never apologized. In a rough way, I was shocked, distraught. If you have a word to describe that awful emotion, then I felt it. I cried, I shouted, I cried again, and we sat in silence until I could talk. Then I told him how I could never trust him again. How could I possibly trust him not to walk out on me or the baby? How could I trust him to tell me these things, or explain his emotions, or to see the story from both sides? How could I possibly work myself dry again for an unloving husband? And so I made the decision for him. We would go to couples counseling, not to be a better couple, but just to understand each other and learn to communicate properly while together and to other people. No matter what, our lives would always involve each other because of the marriage and baby, and so we need to be able to talk. I've moved into my mum's home, and I'm free to stay for as long as I need to. My mum is helping me to make the spare room into a nursery and is being the most amazing, supportive, incredible mum that anybody could be. Tiff and I are going to stay in closer contact, and Harry's ex-friend said that he can be the appointment driver and is going to be my second emergency contact. As for when I'm in labor, my mum will be with me, and Tiff and Harry's ex-friend will be waiting to meet the baby and to stop Harry from even seeing the delivery room. Finally, I made it clear to Harry that we will separate for now, but will divorce/remain separated after the baby is born. I will make sure that he is not mentioned on my emergency contacts. He can't be trusted to show up or even be where he says he is. I'm not going to update this anymore since I have things to do and a baby to prepare for. Thank you for sticking around and reading it all. I'll respond to whatever comments I see or want to, but those are all I'll say after this. In the comments, Pickleberry Match says, "Yeah, I get why the ex-friend became an ex-friend. If my friend pulled the crap that Harry did, I would have done the same. I don't appreciate being lied to, and I suspected the friend felt the same. My husband dropped one of his best friends when he found out the guy had been having an affair during and after his wife's pregnancy. It was their third kid, all under 5. He couldn't stomach the guy after that. I was honestly proud that he dropped the guy so quickly. My friend now lives in another state, and the wife is still there because their kids are so young, but I don't know how long that will really last. I hope she gets out one day because she deserves better. Sorry, babe. I didn't love you so much I got fired. I know, it's crazy, but anyway, I'm going to Ireland now. Bye. Sorry, babe. I couldn't start to love you again because you didn't pay enough attention to me since you were working all the time to pay for everything since I can't be bothered working because I don't love you, but I want to mooch off you. Worse, he didn't even apologize." And yeah, that's kind of where I'm going to finish with the comments. There were definitely a lot more, and I feel like there is a lot more to say about this story. But really, it's just dogpiling at this point. I think this guy does deserve to be dogpiled on a bit to learn his lesson. It's just, I think OP has this one handled. I don't know, this is just a terrible way to end the story. Glad that OP is out of there. He sucks. He's going through some shit, that's for sure, but damn, that's pretty bad what he's done to OP. Communication is definitely lacking, and I hope that he does go to counseling with her and can amicably co-parent, but given his previous actions, it doesn't look great right now, and it doesn't look promising. Our next post is by user SecretAnonymous12, titled, "Am I the asshole for saying that I would stay at my mum's if I had to share a room with babies? I'm 16 female. My parents split up before I was born. Custody is I live with my dad most of the time, and my mum every other weekend, plus randomly staying with her if I want. Recently, my dad got engaged to Hannah, and she and her kids are moving in. Hannah's kids' ages are 9, 7, 2. She is widowed, so they live with her full time. This made room arrangements a bit awkward, since there's only 3 kids' bedrooms to go around. Dad and Hannah talked it over last night, without consulting anybody, and Hannah came over this morning to announce with my dad what they decided. Apparently they want 9 and 7 to each have their own rooms, and me to share with the triplets because my room is significantly bigger than the others, and I don't stay there full time. I said their plan was stupid. They wanted me to share with 3 toddlers. They said they didn't want me to move, but it was the biggest room, so other people should share. I said I didn't care if I switched rooms, because the more logical move would then be the triplets in the big room, 7 and 9 share, and I get my own. I said I'd take the smallest one until I move out. They said that it would be more work to move my things to another room, and that their idea was more practical. Then they asked why I was so pressed, since I didn't even live here full time. I said that not staying in the room 4 days a month was a sorry excuse to land me with a bunch of toddlers, and if they seriously planned on doing it to me, I'd make the custody arrangement change, and I'd stay with my mum for the most part. I know she doesn't mind because both of them reminded me that I could stay with her whenever I wanted. This made Hannah cry because she just wants her family to blend together nicely, and apparently I was ruining her plans. This made Dad mad at me, and I'm not allowed to talk to Hannah until she forgives me. I didn't know this means so much to them, but I'm still saying I'll stay with Mum longer if I have to share with toddlers. But my dad made me feel a bit guilty, so am I the asshole? Honestly, screw Hannah and her goddamn crocodile tears. Get out of here with that, Hannah. You know what you're doing. Just the behavior from her spearheading this movement is so bullshit. Why is this guy so whipped? Why is your dad so whipped for Hannah? I don't understand. Honestly, OP, you handled this so well, But Hannah really only loves her kids by the sounds of it. She could never put the 9 or 7-year-old in a room with the other 2-year-olds because that's just impractical. Red, I'm not going to put them together in that room. They'd hate that, and I love them more than I love you. It seems like your dad isn't on your side. There is no universe in which he's going to fight for you. I think that your compromise of just moving out and not coming back probably is the best thing to do. Your dad can go suck eggs for guilt-tripping you. Maybe him and Hannah can start paying a bit more child support since they're screwing you over this hard. So not the asshole. In the comments, Cake-Eating Rabbit says, not the asshole. They know what they are doing to you. They only act like they don't. You sharing with the triplets makes you care for them at night and as soon as their bedtime begins. It is not practical at all. Where should you hang out between their and your bedtime? Living room with them? I would assume that Hannah wants you to leave and your dad either wants you to babysit or simply doesn't actually care if you were there, but they want you to be the bad guy. This is what I think too. Hannah wants OP to move out, so she insists that OP share her room with 3 toddlers. Her fake crying and hurt feelings are tactics to manipulate OP's father. I don't think any adult man is naive enough to think that a teen with 3 toddlers is practical for the teen at all. 4 kids in one room can only be cramped. OP would not be able to have friends over ever, etc., etc. It wouldn't be too different to OP having no room and sleeping on the living room couch. Practical for him. Teen will be responsible all night so he can get his dick wet. Ain't that the truth? Also said teen's a girl, so why wouldn't it make sense to force her to raise triplets for them? The Duggars would do it. Not the asshole. Hannah thinks the best way for her family to blend together nicely is to instantly make her stepdaughter the free babysitter for her 3 toddlers? Dang, at least the evil stepmother waited until Cinderella's father died, not just made her a free maid instantly. Also, your dad kinda sucks. Who in their right mind would want to share a room with 3 toddlers, let alone someone that's almost an adult? He's favoring his stepkids over his bio daughter to keep Hannah happy, and he's willing to make you sacrifice things like your privacy. I know, right? They are her toddlers. Move them all into the master bedroom until OP can move out then. I bet you anything the master bedroom is bigger than OP's room, and then Hannah can take care of her own kids. Update. I'm at my mum's house for at least the weekend, while the adults try to figure things out. But my mum said that I was welcome to live with her full time, and if I really wanted, we could change the custody agreement. Also, thank you for all the replies. I really wasn't expecting this to blow up as much as it did. Update 2. Because somehow I'm still getting responses to this. Everyone talked, but Dad and Hannah are staying with their decision, and I've decided to move to my mum's long term, and we're going to switch the custody around, so I'll only see my dad every other weekend, and I'm just going to sleep on the couch when I'm there. Obviously nothing is set yet, but that's what we're going to do, and thanks everyone for being so nice. And that's where I'm going to end today's episode, guys. I do hope you enjoyed. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.